This is Women of Grace Live, discussing issues important to your life and faith. Spiritual insight, practical wisdom. Join us as we transform the world one woman at a time. Women of Grace, for such a time as this. Now, here's your host, Johnnette Williams.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Women of Grace Live. I am Johnnette Williams, always happy to be with you Monday through Saturday at this same time as we discuss issues of importance to your life and to your faith. We always like to remind you right here at the top of the hour that you can call us. You sure can. I'm going to give you a couple of numbers to use. We love to have that holy conversation with you. Love to know what God is doing in your life. What's up with you today is always a question I am happy to ask and have you respond to. Here's the number. If you're in North America, it is toll free for you there. It is 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. If you're outside of North America, we've got that number for you too. It's country code 1-205-271-2985, and we invite you to pick up the phone. Give us a call. We love to hear from you. Ryan Penny is out there. He's our call screener, and you know what? If you call in and say, howdy, hey, Ryan, then you become a member of his Howdy Hey Club, and he prays for you. So I do encourage you to say, howdy, hey, Ryan, when you call in today. He always does such a good job of getting your questions up here on the board for me so I can take them. Jeff Burson is our producer. He's also our social media maven, and he is out there right now. Looking forward to hearing from you on Facebook and YouTube. Get out there to EWTN Radio's Facebook page and YouTube channel. And in the chat feature there, you have an opportunity to put your questions and comments. And they come up on the board for me here too. Well, you know, I've been up here at EWTN in studio all week. We've been producing programs, episodes for Women of Grace, our television show that is seen at 11 o'clock a.m. Monday through Friday out there. Yes, we do go head-to-head with ourselves. So that's 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. I like to say I either own the hour, the 11 o'clock hour at EWTN, since we're on television and radio at the same time, or, you know, I'm my own competition. I don't know exactly how to explain it. 833-288-EWTN is the way that you can join us. That's 833-288-3986. And so I have been just absolutely blessed by the numbers of individuals who have come to be guests for our television program. And as always, I learned so much from them. And if you are out there on EWTN's radio's YouTube channel or Facebook page, you're going to see that I am not alone here in the studio. In addition to Jeff Burson is my guest for a series of programs that we did yesterday as well as today, and that is Father Nathan Cromley. And I am so excited to have met him. This is our second meeting. I understand we met in the elevator at the Convocation for Leaders that was held in Orlando. What was that, a year ago this past July, I think. Oh, my goodness, how time flies. But, you know, I've wanted him to be on the program for a number of years, but the man is so busy, I just couldn't get him scheduled. And finally, he is here, and we're talking about all kinds of wonderful things. And we just came from recording a television program that is part of a series all about the St. John Institute, which he's founder and president of. A very unique educational opportunity that pulls together academia with spiritual formation. I think that that's the way it ought to be, quite frankly. And I'm so excited that we were able to snag him and get him into the studio for radio as well so that I could introduce him to you. So, Father Nathan Cromley, welcome and yay.
Yay. Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm glad to be with everybody.
Well, thank you. And I know that they're so happy to see you out there. We're going to be talking about the new evangelization today. We're going to be talking about how it is that we can just change this culture. You know how much that means to me, my dear listeners. You know that is what makes me giddy, absolutely makes me filled with joy just thinking about. And Father has really done an amazing job here. And, Father, as we're waiting for people to call in, 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. I want for you to share with us a little bit about how it was that you gained this vision and St. John Paul II's part that he played in all of this.
Well, Pope John Paul II really embodied for all of us the way that faith ought to permeate every aspect of our lives. As soon as you segregate faith and say it's a matter of the heart, and then say everything else is something that's not as important as that faith, you eliminate faith's impact from radiating through those other aspects of our life. And what Pope John Paul II did is he embodied taking that faith and creating and celebrating it in a culture that upholds the faith and allows it to shine forth in its power. And that inspiration came to me at World Youth Day when I was in his presence. I was 17 years old. I was wearing my Detroit Tigers baseball hat and a pair of soccer shorts. And I was standing there at Cherry Creek State Park for the Mass on the Solemnity of the Assumption, August 15th, 1993. I'll never forget that homily, and I hope all of our listeners can go and look it up, because in that homily, you have a kind of manifesto of John Paul II's spirit for the young people to take the gospel into the streets. He says, now is the time to penetrate the modern metropolis and to go out on the highways and the byways and to bring as many people in as you can into the wedding feast. And I heard that, and I guess I was a believer enough, simple enough in my heart to say, absolutely, I will. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was in that moment that your vocation was born within you too, right?
That is. At that moment, he made an altar call, so to speak. He said, Ho among you will be a good shepherd for the sheep of Christ. I can still hear his voice.
You do his voice very well, might I say.
Well, it was engraved in my soul, because when I heard those words, I just had a meeting with Jesus Christ. The Holy Spirit was there, and I knew he was calling me. And I remember saying yes with every fiber of my being. And I can honestly say that World Youth Day was the moment where the Holy Spirit called me to the priesthood, and especially to working with the young. So when I say young, I mean anyone under 35. That's where we focus our energies at the Eagle Eye Ministries that I founded in the St. John Institute. But we go further than that also to say it's leaders of all ages. But in the end, what I'm looking for are people who want to dare something great and put their greatness at the service of the highest call. And when we do that, the whole world then can catch that vision that it too was made for heaven. Our young people today are struggling a lot with secularism. They say to themselves, I don't know if God really makes a difference because I don't feel it. I don't know where he is in my life. I'm looking for God, and I'm just not convinced by what I get from Catholicism. And I'm here to say this is not what it's all about. It's not about you. God doesn't stifle us. God unleashes us. And I want to give that vision to a young person who's looking to make an impact. There's no greater place to make an impact than the Catholic Church.
Well, you know, what I see you doing, you're harnessing all of that idealism, all of that energy. You're channeling it. You're helping these young people to channel all of that in a direction that really has the capacity to transform the world one woman at a time, one man at a time, one teenager at a time, one child at a time. And that makes me giddy. It certainly does. Friends, you hear that music? We're going to go to a break. Father Nathan Cromley is going to be with us throughout the entirety of the program. He is here to answer your questions about the new evangelization, education, anything else you want to talk about. The phone lines are open for you, 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. If you're out there on EWTN Radio's YouTube channel or Facebook page, you're welcome to use the chat feature to get your question up here. We've got it covered for you. It comes up on the board, and we're going to get to it. So happy to be with you today. I certainly am. So happy that Father Nathan Cromley is with us. We're going to be right back, inviting you to stay tuned. Welcome back, friends. You're listening to Women of Grace Live. I'm Johnnette Williams. So happy to be with you here in studio today. We've been up at EWTN in the television studios all week. We have been producing programs for Women of Grace seen on EWTN television Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, repeating at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're with us by radio in that 11 o'clock a.m. hour, well, don't worry. You can always watch it at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time as well. I am so pleased that one of my guests from television is with us on radio. I love when we have this opportunity because I love to present to you all of these great people. And today we are joined by Father Nathan Cromley. He is a member of the community of St. John. He is also the founder and the president of the St. John Institute and Eagle Eye Ministries. And he's talking with us about the new evangelization and raising up young Catholic leaders. We've got some callers here. We're going to take a few calls, and we want you to call us too. And, maybe you have a young person at home who is really struggling, trying to figure out where they should go, how it is that they should acquire the degree that they're interested in, and you're concerned about good spiritual formation for them. Maybe they, too, sense that God's calling them to some work out there in apostolic life, and they just don't necessarily feel that they've got the skills to bring that to fruition. Well, again, we're here for you. Or maybe you have a young person who's a little off the rails right now with their faith. Father Nathan works with young people all of the time. He may well have some answers for you. So pick up the phone, give us a call, 833-288-EWTN, toll free for you here in North America. That's 833-288-3986. Additionally, you know that we're out there for you on EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page. So I certainly encourage you to get out there. Watch us right now. We're waving to you. Wave, Father. We're waving to you. Having a good time here in the radio studios. Jeff Burson is our producer. He'll grab those chit-chat questions from social media for us and get them up on the board. Ryan Penny answering the phones today. He'll make sure you get up on the board too. So, Father, we look at this moment, and this is a moment to seize, isn't it? There's no time like the present to begin this transformation of the world, and you're saying it's possible. You have one audacious mission.
But it's one the world is waiting for.
It's true.
And that, I think we have to change our attitude. If we go into a fight thinking we're going to lose, it's the surest way to lose the fight.
Yeah.
And a lot of us have that attitude with respect to our families, to our workplace, to our culture in general. We're in a defensive position. And at the St. John Institute, I said, let's take an offensive position. Let's instead say, the whole world is waiting for the light of Christ. Where do I see that? I see that in the emphasis our culture places today on sexuality. That's a longing for the intimacy that God alone can fill in a soul. I see that in our world's communication and obsession with being connected with one another. Well, that's a call for the communion of saints. I see that in our world's need for constant ability to rise again. We're not a defeatist culture. We're a culture on the advance and on the... Well, that's a call to be met there by the Lord who can raise us even from the dead. So I could keep going through the list, but the big news is for all of us to realize and to adapt this vision for our lives and for our families, that they are a place that right now is the most ready for the gospel that they're ever going to be.
Yeah. Well, you say it begins in the family, and I know that in your own personal experience, it began in your family, your parents raising you, educating you in Catholic schools, filling your mind and your heart with the notion that you can do great things and how important this is. And I want to take a call here. Minka is with us, and she is with us from Kalamazoo, Michigan this morning. Good morning, Minka. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, honey. What's going on in your world today?
So I had a specific question about fasting, for answers. I wanted to start a pretty intense fast where I give up food, only drink water for a long period of time for answers. But I'm breastfeeding, so I'm wondering if that's a good idea because I don't want my supply to go down or my baby to suffer because of my fasting?
Well, that's a very good question. And a lot of people will fast during Advent, and they'll fast, obviously, during Lent. And fasting is always a good thing. First of all, Holy Mother Church gives us some guidelines on fasting, right? And what she tells us is that we ought to fast where our 2 smaller meals do not equal our 1 larger meal. So the Church doesn't recommend that we fast totally from food or water. I'm not saying you ought not to do that, but it's something that you should undertake with the advice and counsel of a spiritual director or your priest. Since you are fasting, since you're asking about fasting right now and you're a breastfeeding mom, it's not recommended that you would fast that way. Not only would the milk supply lessen, but the quality of the milk also, I think, would suffer. And obviously, as a woman who desires this close bond with her child, you want to provide, the very best, the most nutritious milk that you can provide for your baby. So I would recommend this, just eliminate from your diet all of the non-foods that you might eat. You might say, well, who eats non-foods? Well, we all eat non-foods when we're eating things like potato chips or nacho chips, or, when we're putting into our mouths things that are primarily substances that are man-made. We don't think of that very often. So be careful of that. You want to be careful of that breastfeeding anyway. But you could eliminate all of those kinds of things, all of the snacks that come in the middle of the day, except maybe for a healthy one that provides good vitamins for you and for your child. And, if you're already about that kind of a lifestyle, Minka, then I would encourage you to fast from something else. Fast from television, except for EWTN, of course, because that's educational and inspiring and feeds your soul. Fast from things like gossip, or fast from things like criticism. Get up an hour earlier, or take a tepid shower instead of a really nice hot shower. These are small little sacrifices that really yield a tremendous surrendering of the heart to God. So I would consider that. Also, just a word about fasting for answers. That concerns me a wee bit, because the goal of fasting is not because we want to get something out of it. The goal of fasting is because we want to give something for the one we love, and we want to make more room for him in our lives. That's what fasting is about. It's clearing out that we might be filled more. So, it's right to pray that God answers our prayer. It's right to look for God's direction and guidance. Sometimes we hear more clearly when we're fasting, but the motivation of that, I think, ought not to be one that is more self-centered and what can I receive, as opposed to what is it that I can give. I want to give this to you. Take this tepid shower, Lord, and see it wrapped up in beautiful wrappings with a bow on the top. It's my gift to you today. That kind of a thing. If we truly live that kind of a thing, typically when we sit down to pray, we hear the voice of the Lord because we're already offering him so much. He has the room to fill us up. Does that help you, honey?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome, precious. God bless you now, and God bless you today. Father, Minka's question is a beautiful question, and I think that it really points something out. People are looking for a way to live their faith, and this is what's so beautiful about the St. John Institute. You're showing young people how that can be done, and you're doing it by the integration of academic studies with spiritual formation, and that's totally brilliant.
Well, I wanted to do something that other great institutions aren't doing. And there's great institutions called universities, and they're doing a great job of passing on the academic, and they give a little bit of spiritual support and a little bit of common life to you, but their main focus is the academic. And I said, what if I could take all that university could offer there and then unite it to what I'm living in the monastery, and then unite that with what the young people are craving for with authentic community? I'd really have something. So at the St. John Institute, we combine an online accredited degree from Walsh University. So they get a fully accredited master's degree at the end of 2 years. But while they're there, they're living in a community of their peers, rubbing elbows with other great future history makers in formation, and then receiving spiritual guidance, philosophy and theology classes, spirituality from the brothers and sisters of St. John. So it's really a totally unique endeavor, all aimed at forming a leader who's able to integrate those same 3 things: faith, family, and business. If you can integrate those in your professional and your normal life, you'll be an incredible person. I want to give you a head start. Have you integrate them in a 2-year format. You don't lose anything, and you come out of it ready to succeed.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and it's very much the way that we look at our Benedictine Leadership Institute for Women. Without that spiritual formation, there's something that is lost. And I don't know exactly how it was way back when. I do know that the Catholic University system grew up under the Catholic Church. She is the one who started the university system, period, Catholic or otherwise. But it was Catholic because she started it. And many of these institutions began under monastic orders, and it seems to me that this was the way that it must have been. And so this is a return to that which worked, which we've fallen away from. And the unfortunate reality is so many of our universities that call themselves Catholic are really not incorporating that kind of spiritual form. It's there if the student wants it and finds it and steps into it. But it's not an integrated reality with the educational process. So, what we do know is that Walsh University is a Catholic Orthodox school. So what they're going to get there is a great education that already has those underpinnings of the Catholic faith, and you're going to bring them now into this deepening formation. It's just like, this is a match made in heaven, and I think it certainly was.
Well, none of us are just brains. We are brains, and we're hearts, and we're souls, and we're bodies, and God asks us to love with all of that. What's happened over time is just because of the evolution of things, the modern university system has learned to focus more and more on the brain. I want to bring it back to its religious roots and say, yes, that's very important. Business skills are very important. Communication ability is very important. But the soul undergirds all of that.
That's
right. So at St. John's Institute, we integrate all of that.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's education for the whole person. And that is something that just is unique at this moment in the history of man. Want to go out there to Dave. He's calling us from Buffalo, New York today. We want to invite you to call us two friends, 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. Our guest is Father Nathan Cromley. We're talking about the new evangelization. Young people, maybe you have a young person right now whose faith is a little off track. You don't know what to do. Father Nathan might just have some words of wisdom for you today. Hey, Dave, Buffalo, New York, Station of the Cross. How are you today?
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
My question that I wanted to ask you today was if I'm praying the rosary to the Blessed Mother more than I'm praying to the good Lord, is that wrong?
Well, what a beautiful question you ask. And Father Nathan can speak to this because one of the essential charisms of the religious order to which he belongs, the Community of St. John, is a consecration to Our Lady. So abundantly, you know what Dave is talking about. So share with us, Father.
Dave, the secret is to not worry too much. The fact that you're close to Mary and that you're praying to Mary isn't a problem in and of itself. What's only becomes a problem is if you're leaning on her or you're praying to her in such a way that you kind of get confused and you think to yourself, well, she is, closer to me than God. That's simply not the case. So we always have to be careful that Jesus Christ comes first and has the primacy in our hearts. But at the same time, if we naturally spend time with his mother, I don't think he would be offended. The secret is this. Always remember to pray the Our Father and to pray the Our Father at least once a day. This will help keep that balance that you're looking for. But on the other hand, as long as in your heart you know that Mary is not God, she's just a creature like we are, but at the same time she's been given to us as our companion, our mother, and our mentor in the faith, well then that's a fine thing to do. It all depends on what you've got going on inside.
Does that help you, Dave? You have another question for Father?
Yeah, I wanted to know if you think that you're possessed with demons, say, of lust. You grew up in a lustful. How do you get rid of that? I pray a lot, but it stays in my mind.
I think a good thing to do would be, Dave, to go and see your parish priest and to talk with him, because he's got a special grace to guide you in those situations. And that's really what he's there for as your shepherd. So I really take advantage of that. That's a free offering, free service of the Catholic Church, is the ability to speak with a priest when you need to.
Yeah. Okay. He can forgive all sins, all 7 deadly sins and whatnot. Or?
Absolutely, he can forgive. It's called confession, and it's an amazing gift. And even if you might not know how to do it, you can just talk to the priest and he'll walk you right through it, Dave.
Oh, what happened was I went and I was hoping that I would give a good confession. But after the confession, it didn't seem like, to me, that it was forgiven as a normal course confession.
Well, David, that's where God has given you a great grace there. He's allowed you to believe without seeing. And that's a special grace, because when you do that, you can be even more sure that your sins have been forgiven, because you totally depend in faith on what he has said. That priest in the confessional said, I absolve you from your sins. And if you heard those words, and if he said those words, then you don't have to worry about it at all. You should go in peace, just like he said.
Yeah. And I just might say, Dave, too, that forgiveness is not an emotion, it's a decision. Likewise, being forgiven is not an emotion. It's the acceptance of God's mercy and walking in it, even if we don't feel it. Sometimes it takes the emotions a long time to catch up with the reality of what's happened. So don't be troubled by the feeling. The evil one will sometimes play in our emotions. It's the only part of our being he can get into. He will play in those emotions. So don't gauge reality by how you feel. Gauge reality by what you know. And what you know is when the priest pronounces those words, as Father said, then the sin is forgiven. And we have the grace of that sacrament to call to the fore when we're tempted in that same way again, and to choose opposite the desire for the temptation. Dave, thank you very, very much for your call today. We so appreciate it. When we come back, we're going to take a couple of Facebook questions right here on the air. We invite you to join us. You can join us by phone at our toll-free number. If you're in North America, it's 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. Now, if you're out there on EWTN Radio's YouTube channel or Facebook page, then you can use the chat feature. If you're not out there on EWTN Radio's YouTube channel or Facebook page, get on out there. You can get your question to us that way, too. It is a pleasure to have with us Father Nathan Cromley. And after this break, we are going to be right back asking you to stay with us. Welcome back, friends. You're visiting with us here on Women of Grace Live today. I am so happy. The Father Nathan Cromley is with us here in studio. He is my guest for television, and, well, we just ran through the network to get here so we could do radio together, too. He's a wonderful priest. He's a member of the community of St. John, and he is the founder and president of St. John Institute, a very unique educational and spiritual formation opportunity for young adults. In addition to that, he is the founder and president of Eagle Eye Ministries, and we're just talking all about this new evangelization and the program that he's developing. We do have a question out here on Facebook, and we invite you to get out there on EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page and you can put your question right there in the little chat feature, and it comes up here, and Jeff Burson gets it up on the board. Ryan Penny gets your calls up here. Mary Lou, Father, is with us out there on Facebook, and she asked this question: Father, how can you talk to adult kids about the Catholic faith without being judgmental? She says, I have a worried mommy here, and I would love to answer the worried mommy. And so there you go. Yeah. What does she do?
It's a question a lot of people have. Mm-hmm. It's a very, very good question, right? Because especially when you speak to your adult children, they'll oftentimes claim you're being judgmental just because you say something that they don't agree with. It's the easiest way to shut mom down is to say you're being judgmental. I would say don't allow them to bully you.
I love it.
No, you're not being judgmental for speaking your mind. And so here's how you do it, especially when you're approaching a modern millennial or a modern young adult. Their mind is not engaged in dialogue. They're not used to confrontation or even intelligent conversation. They live in a world where data or information just comes at them from every aspect, and they're not asked to judge it. They're asked just to receive it. So the very first thing you can do when you're speaking with someone like that about the faith, you don't want to appear judgmental, is to say it with a smile. The way that you approach the situation, it helps immensely. Instead of saying, son, I have something for you to hear, and it's called the truth. I mean, that's not really going to go over real well.
That shuts them down right away.
Yeah, what you need to do instead is say, well, there's another perspective I'd like to share with you. Or could I share with you mom's thoughts about this? Have them give you permission. When they give you permission to share, now they're in a spot where they've given you permission so you can then speak your mind more freely. It's a very simple little thing, but it's how everyone in today's world speaks. So when we speak the truth, we have to say it boldly, but we have to approach almost like if you're a horse that's spooked. You don't just run up to, you approach it gently. So too, an adult child today isn't used to being confronted, so you have to confront them gently. A word spoken in love will attract many more responses than a strong one. So if you're scared of being called judgmental, easiest thing is don't be judgmental.
That's true. And, I always like to make the distinction, Father, between judgmentalism and evaluation. Jesus himself tells us to judge a tree by its fruit. So when he uses the word judge there, I would love to go back and actually see what the translation is, from the Hebrew. But since I don't read Hebrew, I can't do that. I guess I could get one of those Bibles, though, that, does all that for me. Anyway, beside the point, that shiny object, I'm going off down a little road here. But the fact of the matter is, when Jesus says that, what is he saying? What you're doing is you're looking at the fruit that the tree is putting out there, and you're evaluating if it's good fruit or not good fruit, right? So judgmentalism, when Jesus refers to it, and he tells us, judge not lest you be judged, is a whole different statement. He's talking about judging a person's soul.
Or condemning them.
And so the fact of the matter is, I like to say also, to give a little lesson on that and just say, well, honey, I'm really not judging you. The state of your soul is between you and God. I don't know what your motivations are. I can't begin to look at that. But what I can tell you is what I see generally comes from this position that you're taking on this kind of a subject. And I'll tell you where a lot of young millennials are confused, Father, I'd love you to speak to this because, I think even good Catholic kids, as a matter of fact, I know that even good Catholic kids that are more than just Sunday Catholic kids, which is kind of amazing to get them there anyway at certain points in their lives. The fact that they're going is a good thing. But beyond that are actively engaged in a prayer life and things, they get very confused today because of what you said, the mass of media and attention and opinion and social acceptance of same-sex attraction. They will say, well, they will equivocate on that issue. Many of them, they'll say, well, I wouldn't do that, but I think it's okay for them because that's the way God made them, and this is a very important issue. So, and as you say, they don't have the critical thinking skills engaged there. They're not evaluating the fruit of the lifestyle at all. They're just some notion of love.
Right. So in that particular scenario, that's an example of where our minds are afraid to say what our minds see or know. And it's a cultural problem that dates back to the rise of atheistic philosophies. And those atheistic philosophies have their roots in skepticism. So if you want to get technical about it, you can read wonderful exposés that explain why today people are afraid to say what the truth is. And then from same-sex attraction is one example. Euthanasia. How about, that's a whole nother one. You have countries now where children aged 13 and above can get permission for doctors to kill them without asking their parents' approval. So, what is that? And then you can go right down the list of all these horrors. They all have the same root. Our mind is afraid to say the truth because either we think we don't know it or we think it's judgmental. So remember that I liked very much what you said. Christ asks us to evaluate. He asks us to discern. He says, love the Lord your God with all of your mind. Well, then we need to have that discernment.
And we have to cultivate our mind according to the truths of the faith. And this is something that you do in this formation process at the St. John Institute. And when you talk about this training the mind to think, to use the gift of logic to help us, St. Thomas Aquinas is very beautifully built in. His philosophy, his understanding, very beautifully built into what you train these young people to be able to accept and appreciate and live in.
An evangelizer today needs to be able to speak to his audience. Right? So if you know your audience, you can tailor your message to that audience and choose the medium. Our audience is the unchurched people waiting to know God in America. This is why the Catholic Church was founded. It wasn't just to preserve things. What she preserves is a fire that she was meant to spread. Okay, well, if that's our audience, then we train our people at the St. John Institute, our young people, to be in dialogue with that. What formed their thought? How do I approach them? Where are they waiting for my message, the message of Christ? And at the same time, how can I grow deeper in the timeless knowledge of the wisdom of Christ's holy scriptures as lived in the tradition of the church? If you can do that, you create a bridge from one to the next. And that's what communication is bridging the tradition to modernity, the church to the world, the perennial timeless truth with our young people. And that's what you're called to do in your families as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, how do you do that at the St. John Institute? We've talked about the fact that, there's this opportunity for a degree, and yet there's this opportunity for spiritual formation. What does that integration process look like?
It's integrated through the daily schedule that our students share together with the Brothers of St. John. Mm-hmm. So we wake up in the morning at 6 in the morning, and at 6:15, we're in the chapel for 45 minutes of silent prayer. At 7 o'clock, we chant lauds together, and then the students go from 7:30 till 11 studying together in the classroom. So they all open up their laptops, they're working on their different projects online, but they're in that discipline of study. So you prayer, you breathe in, then you breathe out in your study. Then at midday, you breathe in again with Holy Mass and lunch, and then you breathe out again in the afternoon with free time. In the evening, you breathe in again for adoration and evening prayer with the Brothers of St. John. And then the day finishes around 6 so that our students can go into the city, participate in other programs, or work with other groups. So that rhythm of prayer and work, that balance of study, community, and prayer, by the grace of just in going through it for several days, several years, 2 years of their life, ends up integrating a rhythm deep inside of them that engages them at the same time with speakers, mentors, internships. We have an outdoor leadership program they go on, retreats, a pilgrimage, and our very own leadership course where they go through many different forms of learning who they are and their gifts. So in a sense, we can say it's a 12-pillared program, 12 points of leadership formation, but it's all integrated in one single day, one life lived together and shared that allows that to be rooted in the Eucharist and in the prayer life of the Brothers of St. John.
1-833-288-EWTN. That's our toll-free number for you here in North America, 833-288-3986. That again is 833-288-EWTN. We're available for you as well out there on EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page. We invite you to get out there and to register your question in the little chat feature, and it comes up for us right here. Looking forward to chit-chatting with you, having holy conversation with you, answering your questions about the new evangelization, the St. John Institute in particular, or how it is that God's asking you to be an evangelizer, right here for you on Women of Grace Live today with our guest, Father Nathan Cromley. You know, Father, tell us a little bit more about this integration with Walsh University.
Sure. Walsh University is in the hometown of Mother Angelica.
I know. It's so great.
And I happen to think she's winking at us. You know?
I know she is.
We're just a few miles from her original monastery in her hometown, North Canton, Ohio. And that university chose to do something great and make a daring move. What they offer us is all of the accreditation and the program that our students need to get the top-rated business education they can. Walsh is actually accredited. In the accreditation process, it's nearly got its accreditation nailed down with the most prestigious business school accreditation possible. The same level of accreditation as Harvard, Notre Dame, same thing for Walsh University. And so I went with that school that's leading the way in business for the Catholic school community to give that component to what we're trying to do. But remember, that's only a third of what we're offering. The other 2/3, the spiritual formation and the life in community, make the well-rounded leader who's going to make the impact for Christ. So we're taking applications now. Anyone can apply at stjohninstitute.org. You can inquire at SAINT, johninstitute.org. We're happy to take maybe even parents who'd like to look into it for their son or daughter, as long as they're studying for a master's degree in business, theology, education, actually any master's degree that they can take online. We're happy to have them come and live with us in Denver, 20 minutes from the mountains, in order to be learning how to be leaders for the faith and contemporary American world.
And they actually live with you in community in Denver, Colorado. Is that correct?
Yes, they live we're 20 minutes from the Rocky Mountains, 20 minutes from downtown, and just 40 minutes from the airport. We're actually in South Central Denver. It's a town called Englewood, Colorado. And I love it. I tell you what, coming from Ohio, which is, of course, a blessed place, but which has no sunshine for the months of January, February, or March, Denver only has 5 cloudy days a month.
Wow,
Can you
that's
imagine
amazing. I know the experience. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which has basically the same kind of weather systems that Canton, Ohio has, and moved to the Sunshine State of Florida. And when you're used to waking up to sunshine, you don't realize the impact that sunshine has on your attitude and disposition and everything else.
It's a great 5,000 people a month are moving into Denver.
Yeah.
And I love to share that because a lot of times our young people are looking for a jump start. They're looking for a spouse. They want to go to a place where there's action. It's full of millennials. Denver is a place of young people up to 40 years old. It's just coming out, bursting at the seams with terrific Catholic programming as well. So it's a great place to live and get that next start on your life.
Yeah, and the Archdiocese is very, very active. It's Archbishop Sam Aquila. Am I right? Is he there? Yeah, he's just a great man. I knew him when he was bishop in Fargo, North Dakota. What a change for him, thinking about it. Weather change, quite different. But all that being said, the fact of the matter is, what a unique opportunity this is. So when the students are doing, when you say that they go from, 7:30 in the morning until 11 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, they study from 7:30 to 11.
So is that when they're doing the online classes?
That's correct.
So they would be taking the same course together, right?
Most of the time, but if you have different majors, if you're in
they would be
education,
doing something different.
But they're in the same room.
Okay.
And the idea there is to help them to get the discipline of life, of a rhythm from prayer into study into prayer at the beginning of their days. Our students so far have had no problems academically because of that discipline. See? So people think sometimes that they take an online course, you're actually getting an inferior education, and it's not true.
Right.
The online course, many ways, is superior because you have to get the work done.
Right.
And the interaction with the other students provides them with that context of companionship and encouragement so that they get the work done and they do it at the same time.
And I like that. I have to say that I do like that. I understand that when you're doing an MBA, you're obviously not working towards your bachelor's. You're young, but you're not that young. But there is something, and so, the online courses for an MBA or any other kind of a master's degree program is excellent. And for many people that are working, that's very helpful. But in this setting, I like it better from the standpoint that you don't feel isolated.
Right.
You still have the context with other students, and if they're studying the same major that you're studying, if they're looking for the same master that you're looking for, you have an opportunity to discuss what you're learning. And I always think, I was an educator for a number of years. I think that personal interaction and the ability to share what you're learning and to talk about it is part of the educational process.
And one of the ideas that I had, I work at Eagle Eye Ministries across the country with young people who graduate. They graduate with a theology major, a history major, because they're wonderful. Yep. They've had great moms and dads. They went to a great Catholic school. But how can you make a living with a theology youth ministry major? Well, you're going to make up to a certain amount, and that's it. So what I would love to do is say, parents, if your children are like that, they're pious, they're wonderful, they study theology, youth ministry, this is a perfect chance to give them the marketable skills that they need to then take that formation out and make a better living, even provide for paying off their debts.
That's
in
true.
many ways.
Well, and I think this personal opinion here, totally personal opinion, folks, from Johnnette Williams today. But I think that oftentimes, a Master's of Theology program, to be a youth minister and have to study a Master's of have to study theology as your major, sometimes doesn't really prepare you for the real life situations that happen. I think a major in pastoral studies can offer you a better preparation, frankly.
That's right. So if you were to take that theology major, and then couple it, for example, with business, now you've got all of those roots of the trees, but they're able to be effective and bear fruit. And it gives our young people a future to take that great faith into more important places, or more worldly important places in society.
And there's more flexibility with that. Yep. So let's go to Donna. She's with us from Columbus, Ohio today. She's an Ohioan. Living Bread Radio is the way she's with us. How are you, Donna?
I'm fine. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. What's your question, honey?
Good. Well, I'm familiar with Father Nathan, Walsh University, Eagle Eye Ministries. I've been blessed to be able to attend his masses at Walsh University.
Oh, how beautiful!
My question is, he does a beautiful mass. But my question is, so being the programs offered for the young group, which is fantastic, that these things are available now. What about somebody, in their 50s who was raised Catholic but never really had the formal background and teachings of the Catholic Church? Where does somebody like that start for the formation that this younger generation is being offered?
Wow, that's a great question, Donna. I'll bet you that there's a lot of people listening today that have that same question. Father Nathan?
Well, first of all, Donna, Living Bread Radio will start to run our podcast from the St. John Institute in January. It's called Dare Great Things. It'll be on twice a week on Living Bread Radio. So thanks to them for hosting that, and thanks to you for listening. I would share this with you. Number one, I bet that Johnnette Williams and the Benedictine Institute would be an amazing spot for you to get started, because that's one of the reasons that she's got this going. with the St. John Institute, we don't have anything yet that you could take from home. You would need to come to Denver. Now, could a 50-year-old come to Denver and participate? I'm open to it because I think it's a great program. I'd love to talk with you about it. But we right now are only live in. We do have the plans, hopefully starting next fall, to offer it for folks that they could take it by coming for a few times during the year, but take the program at home. We just don't have it set up yet. So stay tuned for that. What you could do, Donna, though, is getting involved with us through our Faith and Leadership Consortium, which is a program offered through stjohninstitute.org, and we could offer you some formation through there. But beyond my preaching in Columbus, where I come at least twice a year, or my times out in Canton, my various events that you can hear about at stjohninstitute.org, I would say to either move to Denver or stay tuned for when you could take it at home. And in the meantime, gosh, what they do here at Women of Grace is already an amazing formation for you.
Well, thank you, Father. And so, Donna, let me just pick up on what Father's saying with regard to Women of Grace. We have an absolutely marvelous foundational study, and it's called It's called Full of Grace, Women in the Abundant Life, and it's based on my book, Full of Grace, Women in the Abundant Life. And in this study program, the formation that you're seeking in terms of knowing the faith is going to be there for you, and it's going to be enhanced by the fullness of what our Catholic faith presents to us. So you're going to learn Catholic tradition. You're going to learn a Catholic teaching on very important catechetical questions. You're also going to learn about the lives of the saints. And there's the dynamic of digging deeply into your own soul, enhancing your prayer life. This has been a life-changing, transforming program for well over 60,000 women in the United States and beyond. So I would encourage you to do that. I know that in Columbus and surrounding areas, we have Women of Grace foundational studies series going on. If there's not one in your area, you can become a facilitator and learn as you go and make that process happen for other women as well. We have all kinds of information for you out there at womenofgrace.com. You can also call us at Women of Grace. We would be happy to talk with you about that. The number's there for you on the website. And our Benedictine Leadership Enrichment Seminars and our retreats, you will love them. I promise you that. So get out there and check it out. Father, that's the closing music. How did that happen exactly?
It went too fast, Johnnette.
It certainly did. It's been great having you on the air with me today, being here for all of our listeners and all of those that are watching us on EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page. We'll have you back sometime.
Please do.
I would love it. I would love it. And so, friends, until we have the opportunity to be together again, may the abundant life of Jesus Christ be yours, and may you be richly blessed. Bye-bye now.